Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Gen X Dad and his Gen Z Teens podcast. This is a program that takes a lighthearted look at generational differences about all sorts of topics. We explore everything from pop culture to history to relationships and politics, but only at a very shallow level. We don't aim to be controversial or be the authoritative voice on any topic. We are certainly not social scientists or scientists of any sort for that matter. We're just here to talk about the things that we think are important and that we will have fun talking about. Also, as always, it is my opportunity to publicly and on the record prove that I am right and my teens are wrong in all cases. And that is the 80s and the 90s were absolutely the best time to grow up. So, our topic for today, we're going to venture into the world of dating. Okay? Now, it is universal that every single teenager is pretty awkward, and we all transition, or as we make that transition from childhood to on our way to adulthood. That journey of maturity is not a straight line, and our relationships as we're teenagers reflect that. Man, we're fighting hormones that are raging, our brains are still developing, and we're just not sure. Sometimes we want to be childlike, and other times we think that we are the most mature adults on the planet, but we're not, okay? So overall, dating is tough no matter what age you are, but we all typically start attempting the dating process in our teens, okay? Now, that part's universal, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Dating for me, when I was a teenager, is distinct from you guys in two main ways. First off, I grew up in a very small town. Second, there was no internet. And so we'll talk kind of about in the context of those two things, because the other stuff's, I bet, probably pretty universal. So the biggest factor in a small town is that I literally grew up with my peers. So a significant portion of my graduating class was also in my preschool class. Now, that is, an issue for a couple reasons, and the main one being that when you grow up with literally the people that become sort of your dating pool, people get pigeonholed. And they do that for all sorts of reasons, which most of them are probably unfair because obviously people should be allowed to change as they go, but it happens. And how you thought of somebody maybe in the 4th or 5th grade still may have an impact on what you think of them when you're in the 9th or 10th grade. And so, your dating pool, and the things that you did with basically people that you grew up with. And then there's other parts where you could have gotten close with somebody or previously dated them, maybe had a bad breakup. And then, again, that's the limited part of your dating pool. And so it just, restricts your opportunities in some ways. As far as me, I really had my first girlfriend probably in the 6th grade, for what that's worth. Obviously, that didn't last very long. And then I really didn't have a serious girlfriend until my senior year in high school. So, and that probably fits about right with, my maturity level and availability and different things like that. And it happened to be somebody from outside of my town. So the dating pool expanded. So with that, the other thing is, there was no internet, and so everything we had to do was up close and personal. You had to actually walk up and speak to someone or call them on the telephone or ask for their phone number. And to some degree, I think there's still a desire for that, but the internet's changed how that's done today. And so that's kind of where I would like to start this, which is, do you find, as far as approaching someone that you're interested in, how does that happen nowadays with you guys? Is it still person face-to-face, or is there something that happens on social media or the internet or messages where that opens up? What do you have to say?
It really kind of depends, but a lot of times it will involve social media, whether it's Instagram or Snap. Those are usually kind of the two. Or just like texting or something if you get someone's number. So, it does depend, but a lot of times it does kind of involve something online.
Okay, what about you?
For me, most of the times it kind of starts face to face and then moves to like social media or texting, and then from there it just kind of goes wherever direction.
Okay. I definitely think the difference that would be somewhat easier. It sort of takes the pressure off when it's not directly having to walk up to somebody. The other thing you guys both mentioned, obviously friend groups play a big part of that. Again, for me growing up in a small town, I mean, we clearly all knew each other, but there was still certain cliques within that. You guys, obviously a bigger city, much bigger school, much bigger environment, but how much does face-to-face friend groups or like somebody coming over going, hey man, you should maybe go talk to so-and-so, I mean, does that play a part anymore?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. I think a lot of stuff like kind of starts in person, like, throughout or through whatever way, you meet somebody, whether they're in your class or at some sort of anything. That's kind of how you'll initially meet somebody, and then whether you add each other on Snap or start following each other on Instagram or text or whatever is kind of how it progresses from there.
Okay, what about you?
Yeah, friend groups are still kind of a big part because, like, if the person that you want to talk to is in one friend group and there's people in your friend group that know other people in their friend group, then it kind of like goes together, and that's kind of how friend groups play a part in that.
Okay, and that's universal. That was the same way with me. I mean, growing up, and I think that's still so. That really hasn't changed much. I think just some of the availability, maybe making that first step, because that's the thing is, are guys in your experience that you guys have, is it the guy that typically still needs to reach out first, or are you finding girls reach out first? Certainly, to somewhat. You could get, hey, so-and-so likes you, but as far as just asking on like I want to go on a date or something like that, it was still expected that the guy would make some sort of move. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, it's still mostly the same now. I mean, it's still mostly on the guys to like make the first move.
Okay. So with that, I can talk I didn't have very many like traditional dates in high school, but I can talk about one of them. And maybe this is universal because, and I'll just bottom line up front, it wasn't fantastic. There was a particular girl I was kind of crushing on hard. It was difficult to finally build up the courage to actually go ask her on a date because she didn't necessarily seem to pay much attention to me. And then when I finally asked, she did say yes. I was hoping for a little more enthusiasm, but she did say yes. We went out, and then it was just kind of awkward. It wasn't fantastic. And that was mostly my experience with a traditional date in high school as a teenager. Later on, I mean, obviously I went to the Air Force Academy, which was, that is, for those who don't know, not a great social school. It is not a traditional school. And there was a hiatus of a lot of social interactions until later. But then later, after that, dating just still doesn't change. And I think it's still today, it's very difficult for a guy to have to go up there and have the courage to go take that first step. As far as what we did, we went to dinner and a movie. Would you say that is kind of typical for what a traditional date would look like?
Yeah, it can be. And I think like overall just types of dates haven't really changed much. It's kind of still usually the same type of stuff.
Okay. So, I mean, again, differences, unfortunately I lived in a town who didn't have a movie theater. We didn't have a roller rink. We didn't have a mall. I mean, so, you needed a vehicle. You needed access to a vehicle. And typically then we could drive to a different town to go to a movie. We did do the proverbial small town thing. A lot of going out for us was we had a fast food restaurant on either end of Main Street, and so you drive up and down Main Street and you'd see people there and kind of hang out in the parking lots till a police car came around and made you guys all leave. I know you guys do hangouts at fast food places, or at least that's kind of the area. Can you talk a little bit about that? Is there anything significant? Do you guys get cops that make you move on at some point or anything? What's that like?
Sometimes, yeah, and the cops kind of know the stuff. Like usually during football season, Friday nights, there'll usually be 1 or 2 cops down there because they know everybody kind of likes to go there after the games. And that's just kind of what it is. Like that's just kind of, it's just a place that everyone goes after events or anything. Like usually after something ends, everyone goes and gets food kind of down in that area. So.
Okay, and that's social. So for us, I talked about what wasn't there. A big part of our social was going to sporting events. And so, high school basketball games, obviously football games. Football games were a lot of fun because we had dances after every single home game. That was always a good time. Obviously all the different dances for school. A lot of it revolved around school and sporting events. What would you say? I mean, you talked about that. What other kind of social areas are you guys hanging out at to meet people and potentially find people to have a high school relationship with?
I mean, I'd say most of it is kind of school related, like either at school itself or at some sort of sporting event. But otherwise, I mean, it's like the mall or like if you're just going to like someone's house or something, then maybe there'll be other people there. So.
Okay, what about you?
Now it's kind of just like going to like different food places or going to the movies or going to someone's house. I mean, it hasn't really changed that much.
Okay, and I'll buy that. Going forward, so, and I don't know, I mean, you guys obviously, I don't think have dabbled into this world yet. And it's, I mean, I remember when the first kind of dating apps came out. And actually I was even previous to that. But when the original kind of meet people online, I think it was better. The little bit that I dabbled when I was still single. First off, it was nothing like whatever the ones are now, Match or stuff like that, which I know you guys don't have. But it was easier, and it started out there were no pictures. Usually, if there was a picture, and so you had to actually get to know somebody, if you will, online. But it was a way to meet people, and I did that kind of in my mid-20s when I was moving around with the Air Force, and I was in a particular location that was pretty small. Again, a limited dating pool, and so that's my one experience using what constituted social media at the time. But what's interesting, I want you guys' opinion as far as if you've heard anything about this, but certainly all the dating apps, certainly for guys, seem to be pretty horrible. Have you guys heard about that in the sense that guys don't tend to get any recognition or anything on apps? Are you guys aware of the stuff that's coming out about that?
I mean, sort of, but not really, because obviously that's not really something anyone in like my age group uses, so I don't really bother with that.
Yeah, and again, I'm very happy that they haven't figured out that part of it yet. Have you heard anything? I mean, okay, he's shaking his head. He would clearly not be in that world yet. That being said, here is sort of now transitioning to, if you will, advice or what to expect. And so definitely if, for the ladies that are listening out there, the people that I ended up dating and that up into including your mom, when I met them, they made it easy in a sense of they made eye contact. There was some sort of cue, if you will, to go, hey, come over and talk. Because again, for the listeners that are out there and for you guys, it takes a lot of courage to go up to a stranger, to put yourself out there and make that move. Women certainly have it easier. And what's interesting, and I don't know if you guys are following this, but there's a certain degree of frustration that's, from women saying guys are checked out and no longer walking up or anything like that. And to be honest, ladies, try it one night. It is not the easiest thing to, again, go out there and purposely try and meet somebody who is a perfect stranger. So with that, the advice that I have, if you're going to do it, one, for both sides, make eye contact, smile, in a sense, give an opening. I think the statistic is a guy will walk up to 1 out of 100 people to say hi to. And again, I think that's actually probably pretty accurate. So again, if you want to make it easier, then make it easier for the guy to walk up. And the second thing is, in the spirit of try and create an opening, make a compliment. Hey, I like your hair. I like your shirt. I like your earrings, as you transition by, and then a person will either give you a further opening or not in order to move forward and see if there's anything there to start. So overall, as far as dating goes, do you guys look forward to more opportunities, or is it all kind of a pain and you just are looking for somebody to come up and talk to you, or what's your kind of whole attitude towards it?
No, I mean, it definitely can be good with the right person. So, yeah.
Okay.
Me, yeah, sometimes it can be fun, depending on like who it is. Yeah.
All right. So with that, certainly if there's anybody in the crowd that would like to offer some advice to the young men entering into the dating pool on the ways that they think that's better advice than what I can give them, then certainly please reach out. And for everyone else out there, especially the ladies, just realize it's tough to be a guy, and things that you can do to make it easier for them to come up and talk to you, literally then make it easier for them to come up and talk to you. So that's my take on that. So that's all we have for today. I want to thank my teens for talking about what could be an awkward subject. So thank you for that. And for everyone else, this has been another episode of the Gen X Dad and his Gen Z Teens. Take care. Bye.